My darlings, I hope you're all doing very well. I just want to say well done for all of your hard work. I am so proud of every single one of you, so keep it up. I thought we would change it up and I thought we would do our library lesson on Monday. I think it's quite a nice start for the week. And today's library lesson is on a new text called Wonder by an author called Palacio. And this is going to be one of our kind of last library lessons. I'm not sure how long it's going to take us to finish The Tempest, but when we finish The Tempest, we're going to move on to some new content, and that content involves a lot of different stories. So we'll kind of get our fix of reading from that instead. So I wanted to expose you to a different text today. We have been reading Lord of the Flies, and it's amazing. I recommend when the library is open, you go and get the book, or if you would like to read it in full, I can try and get a copy of it online for you. Just email me. Today we're going to look at Wonder. Before we read, I want to show you the blurb. And there's also a link on Show My Homework to watch a couple of clips from the film. This book was created into a film, which is great. So we're going to read the blurb, and then I'm going to ask you to go and watch those videos before we get into the actual reading of a part of the book. Starting 5th grade at Beecher Prep, Augie wants nothing more than to be treated as an ordinary kid, but his new classmates can't get past his extraordinary face. Wonder begins from Augie's point of view, but soon switches to include the perspectives of his classmates, his sister, her boyfriends, and others. These voices converge to portray a community as it struggles with differences and challenges readers, both young and old, to wonder about the true nature of empathy, which, when you're empathetic, it's understanding for somebody else, compassion, acceptance, friendship, and ultimately kindness. Augie is a hero for the ages, one who proves that you can't blend in when you were born to stand out, which is a lovely, lovely message. So now we've read a little bit of the blurb. There's a couple of links on Show My Homework under the task instructions today. Could you just click those? It will take you to a new tab with different YouTube videos. Have a watch of those, and once you finish watching them, before you come back to the video, just have a reflection on what you think the book's going to be about, how you think you're going to feel for Augie, and maybe how you think that his classmates, his sister, and the other characters in the text might also feel. So pause the video and go and watch those videos and reflect now, please, before returning back. Okay, if you're back, that means you've watched a few clips from the movie. Maybe if you can't get a hold of this book, but you like the way that it looks, maybe you could try and watch the movie. Let me know if you do. I'd love to hear it. All right, let's get into part of the book. There are going to be sections again in red that I would like you to read aloud if you can, to practice your spoken language skills. And if you can't, just read it in your head. All right, let's get started. I know I'm not an ordinary 10-year-old kid. I mean, sure, I do ordinary things. I eat ice cream, I ride my bike, I play ball, I have an Xbox. Stuff like that makes me ordinary, I guess. And I feel ordinary inside. But I know ordinary kids don't make other ordinary kids run away screaming in playgrounds. I know ordinary kids don't get stared at wherever they go. If I found a magic lamp and I could have one wish, I would wish that I had a normal face, that no one ever noticed at all. I would wish that I could walk down the street without people seeing me and then doing that look away thing. Here's what I think. The only reason I'm not ordinary is that no one else sees me that way. But I'm kind of used to how I look by now. I know how to pretend. I don't see the faces people make. We've all gotten pretty good at that sort of thing. Me, Mum, and Dad. Via. Actually, I take that back. Via's not so good at it. She can get really annoyed when people do something rude. Like, for instance, one time in the playground, some older kids made some noises. I don't even know what the noises were exactly, because I didn't hear them myself. But Via heard, and she just started yelling at the kids. That's the way she is. I'm not that way. Why doesn't see me as ordinary? She says she does, but if I were ordinary, she wouldn't feel like she needs to protect me as much. Mum and Dad don't see me as ordinary either. They see me as extraordinary. I think the only person in the world who realises how ordinary I am is me. My name is August, by the way. I won't describe what I look like. Whatever you're thinking, it's probably worse. Alright, pause the video now and read this and before coming back. Okay, let's move on. Mum homeschools me. She used to be a children's book illustrator. She draws really great fairies and mermaids. Her boys' stuff isn't so hot though. She once tried to draw me a Darth Vader, but it ended up looking like some weird mushroom-shaped robot. I haven't seen her draw anything in a long time. I think she's too busy taking care of me and Vaya. I can't say I always wanted to go to school, because that wouldn't be exactly true. What I wanted was to go to school, but only if I could be like every other kid going to school. Have lots of friends and hang out after school, and stuff like that. I have a few really good friends now. Christopher is my best friend, followed by Zachary and Alex. We've known each other since we were babies, and since they've always known me the way I am, they're used to me. When we were little, we used to have playdates all the time, but then Christopher moved to Bridgeport in Connecticut. That's more than an hour away from where I live in North River Heights, which is at the top tip of Manhattan. Zachary and Alex started going to school. It's funny. Even though Christopher's the one who moved far away, I still see him more than I see Zachary and Alex. They have all these new friends now. If we bump into each other on the street, they're still nice to me though. They always say hello. I have other friends too, but not as good as Christopher and Zach and Alex were. For instance, Zach and Alex always invited me to their birthday parties when we were little, but Joel and Eamon and Gabe never did. Emma invited me once, but I haven't seen her in a long time. And of course, I always go to Christopher's birthday. Maybe I'm making too big a deal about birthday parties. I like when Mum tells this story because it makes me laugh so much. It's not funny in the way a joke is funny, but when Mum tells it, Via and I just start cracking up. So, when I was in my mum's stomach, no one had any idea I would come out looking the way I look. Mum had had Via 4 years before, and that had been such a walk in the park, Mum's expression. So walk in the park doesn't literally mean that they're walking in the park. If something's a walk in the park, it's you describe something as easy or kind of simple. So you might say that exam paper was a walk in the park. But there was no reason to run any special tests. About 2 months before I was born, the doctors realised there was something wrong with my face, but they didn't think it was going to be bad. They told Mum and Dad I had a cleft palate and some other stuff going on. They called it small anomalies. Um, something An anomaly is something that's kind of out of the ordinary, something different. If you'd like to Google a cleft palate, you can pause the video and do that now to look at that kind of facial deformity. If not, let's carry on. Pause the video and read this red section now for me, please. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to move on. When I came out of Mum's stomach, she said the whole room got very quiet. Mum didn't even get a chance to look at me because the nice nurse immediately rushed me out of the room. Dad was in such a hurry to follow her that he dropped the video camera, which broke into a million pieces. And then Mum got very upset and tried to get out of bed to see where they were going, but the farting nurse put her very big arms on Mum to keep her down in the bed. They were practically fighting because Mum was hysterical and the farting nurse was yelling at her to stay calm, and then they both started screaming for the doctor. But guess what? He'd fainted right on the floor. So when the farting nurse saw that he had fainted, she started pushing him with her foot to get him to wake up, yelling at him the whole time, "What kind of doctor are you? What kind of doctor are you? Get up, get up!" Then all of a sudden, she let out the biggest, loudest, smelliest fart in the history of farts. Mum thinks it was actually the fart that finally woke the doctor up. Anyway, when Mum tells us this story, she acts out all the parts, including the farting noises, and it is so funny. Mum says the farting nurse turned out to be a very nice woman. She stayed with Mum the whole time. Didn't leave her side even after Dad came back. The doctors told them how sick I was. Mum remembers exactly what the nurse whispered in her ear when the doctor told her I probably wouldn't live through the night. Everyone born of God overcometh the world. And the next day, after I had lived through the night, it was that nurse who held Mum's hand when they brought her to meet me for the first time. Mum says by then they had told her all about me. She'd been preparing herself for the seeing of me. But she says that when she looked down into my tiny mushed up face for the first time, all she could see was how pretty my eyes were. Mum is beautiful, by the way, and Dad is handsome. Varya's pretty too, in case you were wondering. I was really bummed when Christopher moved away 3 years ago. We were both around 7 then. We used to spend hours playing with our Star Wars action figures and dueling with our lightsabers. I miss that. Right, pause the video and read this section for me, please. Alright, if you're back, we can move on. We should talk about this later, said Mum. No, I want to know what you were talking about, I answered. Don't you think you're ready for school, Augie? Mum said. No, I said. I don't either, said Dad. Then that's it, case closed, I said, shrugging, and I sat in her lap like I was a baby. I just think you need to learn more than I can teach you, Mum said. I mean, come on, Augie, you know how bad I am at fractions. What school? I said. I already felt like crying. Beecher Prep, right by us. Wow, that's a great school, Augie, said Lisa, patting my knee. Why not Via School? I said. That's too big, Mum answered. I don't think that would be a good fit for you. I don't want to, I said. I admit, I made my voice sound a little babyish. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do, Dad said, coming over and lifting me out of Mum's lap. He carried me over to sit on his lap on the other side of the sofa. We won't make you do anything you don't want to do. But it would be good for him, Nate, Mum said. Not if he doesn't want to, answered Dad, looking at me. Not if he's not ready. I saw Mum look at Lisa, who reached over and squeezed her hand. You guys will figure it out, she said to Mum. You always have. Before we move on, I just want you to have a think. So it seems like Dad wants to keep Augie at home, but Mum wants to send him to school. Which do you think is the best decision there? Maybe Mum thinks that by keeping him at home, Augie isn't getting a real experience of the world. Ultimately, one day he has to go out and, live his life. But maybe Dad is worried that he is going to get bullied or to get teased, and he doesn't want to push him into that situation. But have a quick think before we move on. Who do you think is making the right choice there, Dad or Mum? And if you have any opinions, you can leave it as a comment when you do your quiz. All right, let's just read this final red bit for me. All right. Now you're done, you are ready to go to show my homework and complete the quiz. You should be aiming for 100% as always. If there's scores that are unacceptable, I will be contacting you to make sure that you can redo the quiz to an acceptable standard. If you have any kind of comments about the situation or any comments about the film, or if you would like me to try maybe and get a full copy of the book, if you'd like to carry on reading it, please do let me know. I look forward to seeing anything you want to ask, and I look forward to seeing all of your amazing quiz scores. Have an excellent rest of your day, and I will speak to you in the next video.